sip. Beautiful cup of joe in the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to People Helping People. Hope everybody's doing good. And you know, I don't really know what to talk about today, and that's okay. Because you know what? This is what it is. I've been super busy in great ways. There's such good problems on my table, and I have been trying to flex the muscle of being grateful for the issues that I have, being grateful for the position that I'm in, and knowing that all these things that I've been going through recently are a part of the bigger plan. I've been running my car rental agency for almost a year and a half now. That is my business, Wardy's Car Rentals. And we've had a crazy last year, and the business now is to a point where it is almost running itself. But it took a full year of dumping money into this thing that I had earned out in the oil field. I was working in the oil field prior to that. And it just felt like an uphill climb. It felt like a battle. It felt like I was a one-man army and I didn't know what I was fighting for. And the business has finally gotten to a point where it's almost running itself to a degree, I should say. And now there's this new avenue, this new way to create content for me, this new way to connect with people. And that's what this is, People Helping People. And it's been a breath of fresh air because I've also owned a production company where I've shot commercials and done like professional grade work, but it was always waiting for somebody else to tell me their vision and what they want. And then spending hours and hours and hours sitting on a computer in hopes that my art, my vision, my ideas would come together with what they saw, with what they needed. And I always felt like I fell short. And, when I sit on here and come on and just want to babble for a moment, the one word that comes to mind, and I think is everybody is going through kind of the same thing, the one word that comes to mind is balance. Balance of so many different aspects of your life. And it seems as though when you're striving in one place, there's another one that's neglected. There's this teeter-totter. There's this wave that you're riding, and sometimes you're in the pocket and things are panning out, but then you realize that you're missing one other section of your life that needs attention. And I think that this constant act of finding balance feels fleeting at times. So I wanted to talk a little bit about balance. I wanted to talk a little bit about the fleeting feeling of balance and how taking a moment to feel grateful for the things that you are going through help to bring that balance. Feeling grateful that, maybe you missed the gym for a week, or maybe your business is not getting as much attention, but keeping your mind in check too, and realizing that it's okay. That is what life is. And knowing that things do slip through the cracks. And as long as you're attentive to what means a lot to you and fulfills you, then balance is something that can be achieved. So I sit here today and I'm moving a 3-bedroom house into my 3-bedroom house. My beautiful girlfriend Kayla is moving in, and we have not had balance whatsoever. I've got this live show that I want to keep going with because I enjoy this type of content. I've got Wardy's Car Rentals. I've got my personal health. And it seems as though when, you have a lot on your plate and you may be overwhelmed at times in specific areas, other things tend to fall short. And it seems as though maybe my health recently has started to decline. And I only say that because I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I get like immediate feedback from my insulin pump and my cognitive abilities and physical capabilities. I get like this real quick, instant feedback from my body on how I'm doing. When it comes to balance, if I veer one way or another, I get a quick response. And it's not always the greatest thing. It's not always the best feeling knowing that I went to the Pima County Fair this weekend, which was fun, but going there and ordering a deep fried cheesecake, will go figure, that sent me into a spiral and I'm still recovering from it 3 days later, 4 days later. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about balance. So as we sit here and we look at our lives and we see maybe where we're falling short or have shortcomings, how to reintegrate and how to, hold on one moment. Let me check back and forth here. We're going from Instagram to Facebook. And maybe this episode is more of a diary for me, right? Maybe this is just me kind of spewing where I'm at in life and seeing what I can do to help myself find a little bit of balance. But as far as health is concerned, for those of you that don't know, at 28 years old, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and Crohn's disease on the same day. It is something, I was in a state of ketoacidosis, they call it. So my body was basically eating itself from the inside out because of my blood sugars were so high. And I spent the better half of 2 years in and out of hospitals and eventually had to ask for help. I eventually had to ask for help. I had a beautiful 3-bedroom house here in Tucson, all the toys you could possibly want. And I lost it all. I lost my career. I was working with AT&T at the time. And my health was declining rapidly. I'd pull up a picture for you guys, but oh well. So I was down to about 120 pounds, and I walk around at about 170. So I was rail thin. And I couldn't even open up a water bottle. I mean, I was so weak. And I finally asked my parents for help for the first time. I've been very prideful my whole life, so it was somewhat of an ego death. And I had to relearn how to live life as a type 1 diabetic who also had Crohn's disease. And everything that's good for diabetes is bad for Crohn's. So you have this one lane of everything that you should be eating and doing for a diabetic, which is, either low carb or whatever. There's healthy ways to go about being a diabetic. And there's also healthy ways to go about being a person with Crohn's. And those are both conflicting. So I had a long path ahead of me. Like I said, at 120 pounds, I remember my drive up to Oregon. I had to stop every 10 to 15 minutes. I was bleeding out of every single orifice of my body. I don't want to get too deep into it, but that's the gist of it. Everything was miserable. But I went up there to my parents' place because, like I said, I just lost it all. Went up there and I started rehabbing. And what that looked like was I ate nothing but potatoes, carrots, celery, and, what else was it? Potatoes, onions, carrots, and celery. And I made a stew out of those 4 things in water. I would blend it up, and I ate that for 6 months straight. That's all I ate. And that was to give my body a chance to heal. It was to give me the opportunity to be able to, for one, hold things down and give my gut and my insides a moment to heal. And it worked. It worked. And that eventually led me to go and get stem cells in Mexico, which also worked. And we can have a whole nother episode on stem cells. I'm an advocate. Anybody who has an ailment, pains, or anything like that, I would say go and try out some stem cells. You got to go to Mexico to get the good stuff, though. So we went to Tijuana, and I got some stem cells. And it wasn't a cure by any means. Like, if you have Crohn's and you think that you're going to go get stem cells and it's going to cure you, you're wrong. So don't go into it with that mindset. But what it did for me was it gave me enough energy. The energy was immediate. And it was the first time I had felt that in a couple of years. It gave me enough energy to be able to go to the gym. And I remember day one trying to find balance. Trying to find balance with my diet, trying to find balance with the gym. Day one, I spent maybe 5 minutes in the gym. I jumped on the Stairmaster. I'm maybe 125 pounds at this point. I was putting on a little bit of weight because of the meals that I was eating. And I got up there for 5 minutes. Day 2, 7 minutes. Day 3, 10 minutes. And I just continued and continued and continued until I was strong enough to be able to hold my own and go in and get after it again. And I started feeling better. But it took me taking that leap. It took me really trying to rehab myself to get to the point where I could actually work again. In that whole time, all I wanted to do was work. It was like, it's funny when that's stripped away from you and you don't appreciate the fact that you get to work. Let that sink in. You get to work. You don't have to work. And that's just a mindset. Of course, you have bills to pay. Of course, you have mouths to feed. But at the end of the day, being grateful for being able to work, because when that's stripped from you, that's all you want. And I promise you, I've been there. I know it through and through. So I put myself in a position to be able to work again, which led me to be a financial advisor. And I was a financial advisor for about a year. And I started feeling so good that I felt as though I was constrained because I was sitting behind a computer all day long, which was the issue that I had with the production company. It was like, I'm just on the computer all the time, man. So I couldn't find that balance once again. So I took on a job in North Dakota. I worked in the oil field. Talk about no balance. I was working 16 to 20-hour days, 7 days a week. We were wireliners. If you know anything about the oil field, you know that we were basically the Marines of the oil field. We're the guys out there with pipe wrenches. We're the guys building the pipe bombs that go into the ground and perforate the pipes, which allows oil to seep through, and then they frack the oil out. But not an easy job by any means. Actually, one of the most physical, hardest jobs, not only that I've ever done, but that exists. It is really tough. Most people don't make it, and I had a point to prove to myself. I had to reinvent myself from this withered, 120-pound, sick individual and rebuild to something that was worthy, I guess you could say. I wanted to be worthy of my own good graces. I wanted to be worthy of positive self-talk. And it took me going through what I had to go through in the oil field and working those days and feeling the way that I felt, which was a guy suffering from Crohn's still and type 1 diabetes still and doing the most physical job on the planet. And there was no balance. There was no balance whatsoever. It was just nose to the grindstone. It was basking in the pain, feeling as though this was my proving ground. This was my moment to show myself that I'm capable. And I didn't want to let anybody else down at the same time. I didn't want anybody to know that I was a type 1 diabetic or held back by any ailments. And I worked my fucking ass off. And it gave me a lot of pride to know that not only was I capable, but I was flourishing. But again, we double back on the word balance. Working 16 to 20-hour days, 7 days a week for 20 days in a row. And sometimes I'd work through my days off, which were 10 days. We'd work 20 on, 10 off. And there were stints of 50 days in a row working no less than 100 hours a week. Zero balance. But my mantra, my mindset, the whole time that I was out there was not only that did I ask for this, but I fucking loved it. And I told myself that every single day. Every morning I'd wake up, either 3:30 or 4:30 in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd be like, yeah, I love this shit. And that's what got me through. That's what got me through. Every single time that it was -30, -60 degrees out, and we had to get out of our trailer and go break down these pipe bombs, these guns, what we called it, gun string, we'd have to break that down. And I would just say to myself all the time that I love this. This is my favorite part. And now we move forward. I'm done with the oil field. I'm excited about life. And I'm still looking for balance. And I think it's a lifelong endeavor. To anybody that's nailed down balance in their life, I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk with you and see what balance looks like for you, because there's so many different avenues of what balance is. You have balance of technology versus being in nature. You have balance of work life and personal life. You have balance of relationships and being by yourself. You have balance of, reaching out to family as often as you should and being secluded when it's necessary. There's so many things to balance, and it feels like a juggling act. And I'm just hoping that when you're going to work, maybe you can take the mantra that you get to work. Finding things to be grateful about, finding love in the things that may feel as if they're tough is not always easy. And I'm in a moment of an imbalanced chaos, but I tell myself that I love the chaos. We're moving and consolidating these two houses together, and I'm trying to keep the show going, and I love this. I love the chaos. I love when things are imbalanced because I get to right those things. I get to make amends with the things that are imbalanced. And that's my mindset. And I hope that, I hope that anybody that feels as though maybe their life is imbalanced, whether it be going to the gym or your diet or your work and personal life or your relationships, or maybe you're a single person and finding the balance of using dating apps or whatever it was. Like I've been in all those scenarios before. And I think that all I want to say, this is going to be short and sweet. I say that we're 20 minutes deep, but I say that to I want to think about that for a second before I just spew words. I say that balance will be forever fleeting, but knowing that when things are in balance, staying in tune to what you know is out of balance and knowing that you can correct it. I think that's the most poignant way that I can say it. Knowing, okay, I'm letting this go as this teeter-totter back and forth happens in life. Knowing that maybe there's a little bit too much weight on the work side of life. And you got to find that balance. You got to strive to go have some you time, to disconnect, to turn your phone off, to have no service, to put your feet on the ground. Or maybe you've been on the ground for too long and you need to get to work. That constant juggle, that constant balancing act. But anyways, today's moral of the story is that balance is forever going to feel out of whack. It's forever going to feel as though one thing is fleeting, but knowing that it's going to be okay and having fun while you do it. And, you know, the things that suck, I swear, if you tell yourself that this is your favorite part, I'm telling myself right now, as we speak, that this chaos that's happening around the house and this chaos in life that's going on, you know, I got a car out in freaking Illinois, halfway across the country from my car rental business. This is my favorite part. It's okay because I enjoy the challenges of you know, a stick being thrown in the spokes. How am I going to roll out of this one? How am I going to maneuver? So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, first of all. And I want to say I have a laundry list of guests. Everybody who's been reaching out to me, I really, really appreciate you. There's people that are getting all kinds of, you know, they're getting some wisdom from the business owners that I've had on, and they've reached out to me and said that they're thinking about starting a business. Like, that's what this is about. This is people helping people. So I want to help you guys as much as I can. I want to bring on as many different types of business owners and musicians and artists and open discussion to different types of communication. And but yeah, that's what the future is looking like. I have not had time to schedule people on the show, but we will have, I do have a Rolodex of human beings. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And for today, the word is balance. And don't worry if you feel a little out of balance. It's okay. I promise it's okay. Because it's a constant thing. Anyways, I love y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in, and just be conscious of the things that may be out of balance, and, you know, try to hone in on them. That's it. Just be aware of your surroundings. And thank you all for tuning in to People Helping People. We'll talk to you in the next one. Doses.